Hello everyone, and hopefully the microphone sounds as good as it did a few days ago. So before we get started, a funny little story. I have this microphone stand. It's not very stable because it's not on a boom arm. I don't want a boom arm in my room because I want to just pack this equipment away. So I accidentally got hold of it and it tipped into my tea. So I had to take all the microphone to pieces, dry it all off, and luckily it's actually a really well built microphone. This it's called a Rode. It's a type of Rode microphone, and I've seen some famous people use it as well, but it is the NT2A. I'm not being paid to advertise it, by the way, but if you want a really great microphone, that's the one that I'm using, so that's awesome. And I unfortunately tipped this great microphone into a tea, and then I thought, oh, it's completely bust. And you've noticed in a few of my other videos, I did a prophecy video and then another video, and I honestly thought my microphone was broken. Like I'd really done something because it's had a few knocks, but it's actually really stable. So after I dunked my microphone into the tea, I dried it all off, put it all back in, and then I just thought it was broken and I was just going to have to somehow live with it or fiddle around with the audio until I realized I put the microphone into the stand backwards. So it's really important, guys, when you do your audio tests and all the rest of it, that you actually point the front of the microphone, because the thing is with this microphone, it's actually very symmetrical. It's just got some options on it. But if you don't actually point the front of the microphone, and you have it on a certain audio pattern, it sounds like you're talking at the bottom of a puddle. So yeah, that was terrible. But now we're back. Great voices, great times, and I have some more great ideas for Blankcanvas, obviously. So first of all, there will be some more in-depth videos. I want to really illustrate my ideas so that nobody can be confused about what I want to do. So first of all, we have tone matching between two or more assets for easier composites and a slider for a variable tolerance. So imagine when you're compositing two things together, in a photograph, you want them to look similar. And so what you normally want to do is bring the colors together. You want to hue it and rotate it a bit. And I want this software to make it a bit easier for you to make composited images. So you can take maybe 3 images and you can select the main image and then you can select the other images. So you select the one you want to tone to first and then you select the other images. And then it has a tolerance slider where you try and match the colors up, but Blankcanvas will sort of automatically try to bring it closer to the color tone and the color palette that we're looking for, because otherwise you probably won't get the style or the effect that you are looking for. And the reason why there's a slider is because sometimes you want more tolerance and sometimes you want less tolerance. For example, there could be a sandy picture with potentially some sea, another picture with sea and icicles. Well, even though you want to kind of composite them together, which you could do, it'll create a very abstract scene, you don't want to go too far with some images and you want to go a little bit further with other images. So the idea with the tolerance slider is there's a tolerance slider for each individual image. Maybe it'll be over the image or just over the top of the image or something like that, that lets you just slide in and out and just sort of composite the colors together. I think that that's something that's really, really important, and I think that the guy who worked on Transformers, he was never into color. He wasn't a big color correctional fan, but when they showed him the color corrected version, he all of a sudden became really encapsulated by this whole thing about color correcting. And so he made the whole Transformers films and every single frame color corrected to an absolute T. And that's what really makes a movie, but that's what makes a composite worth the time. Even in a 3D aspect or setting, that's what allows the composite to almost carry enough realism, but enough fictitious You know, you can create abstract scenes and stuff with icicles and sand and, you know, completely two different environments and blend them together. But you do need to do a lot of color adjustment to try and get that right. I think as a professional, you could do that quite easily, but I think for a beginner, it wouldn't. And the more you end up compositing, for example, if you composite 50 or 60 images together, then it can become a real task, even for a professional. So I think that having this auto tone matching is really good, and having the tolerance in there so that you can kind of back away from what Blankcanvas is trying to do, or go more into what Blankcanvas is trying to do, which is what it's trying to do is match the red, green, and blue of the main composite image and try to bring down the color palettes or bring up the color palettes of the other images so that their RGB channels are within the sort of scope of the main image. And I think that then that will actually make quite an interesting composite. And maybe having a tolerance on each one of the channels, red, green, and blue, just to give you a bit more finite control. And then you can have an overall tolerance slider for all the channels, red, green, and blue, to try and change those colors and match everything up. Mask can have filters and apply mask that can apply to the mask or be clipped by the mask. So imagine you blurred out, imagine you've masked out a mountain. So we have a picture of a mountain and we've masked it out. So now I can select that mask and then I can select a non-destructible filter. You apply a filter onto it, let's say a blur. Now it can be clipped. That blur can be clipped. So if it's a clipped blur, then the edges of the mask are not affected. Okay, and it will blur the background. But also you can apply the blur to the mask itself. So now if I apply the blur to the mask, you will kind of get a blurred out edge radius, and also it will blur the image as well. So there's kind of two aspects to this. So the filter will apply to whatever we're masking to, and that's a separate, you know, it has its separate controls. You can also apply the filter to the mask itself, and you can also not apply the filter to the mask and just have the filter clipped specifically on the mask's content. And finally, someone suggested this to me: marketing suite that works with alliance with Blankcanvas, accessing analytical data, determining the success of a project, and then working with possibly failures and successes. So it has an algorithm. So we're going to have in Blankcanvas a nice little project screen where you can look at previous projects, and I thought this is a good idea to integrate a marketing suite. So for example, you can have a lot of SEO campaigns or search engine optimization campaigns, these little games that companies make, or little web pages, little micro applications that are to boost the SEO. And then what you're to do is to look at the analytics, look at the time, look at everything from a management perspective and say, well, this took less time and it got more engagement and it was more successful. Let's go into those projects. And it can sort of organize the projects that are unsuccessful. So you can look at what you're doing in the unsuccessful projects. Maybe you're making them too complicated. Maybe you're not making them engaging enough for the user. There's no real input, or there's no real satisfaction in inputting, you know. Or there's no real incentive for them to do it. So the idea behind integrating a marketing suite, I'm not saying I want to turn it into a marketing suite, because I think it's got enough on its plate already. But I certainly think that having the software, or at least having a basic sort of marketing side to the application, will add to the analytical performance and, you know, user engagement. What have we done wrong? What have we done right? And so that will give you a good idea as to more information. It just gives you more information, more power to determine where you should spend your time versus where you shouldn't. And with Blankcanvas, it's so powerful that you do actually need to be concerned with where you spend your time. I'm not talking from a hobbyist point of view. You can do whatever the hell you like, but when it comes to business, you know, one needs to track how much time data takes, how much time the database or the spreadsheet takes to set up, how many mistakes are made, how many hours are spent in certain areas of the application, and also finally hooking up with real world analytical data and syncing that back to the project, so that every now and again your managers will come to a creative review process, and ultimately it will actually allow you to determine what necessarily is right or wrong in terms of the way you want to take your business forward, and where you want to rein your business in, and where you want to extend your business out. What one hand takes away, one hand should give back. So that's the whole idea behind adding a bit of marketing to this, because I think that marketing is such a huge part of creation now. It's in the typography, it's even in the images. We're trying to market this product in a certain way. We're trying to get this to look a certain way. We're trying to organize it in a certain way. So even in terms of the art, in terms of a poster, a picture, an advert, a video that you're going to have put up on the TV, whatever it may be, there is always an aspect of marketing to that. And that level of marketing is going to help businesses to closely and more bind marketing more to the material that they are actually producing. And don't forget, this Blankcanvas can edit Word documents and standard documents as well. So, that also has value in marketing, and value to a business, and value to a creative process. And as it has notes integrated into it, you can keep notes, logs, and notes can also contain graphs and all the rest of it. So you can pull in analytical data, say this is what we've done for this month, this is our analysis of what we've done for this month. We're not getting rid of people. We're not talking about AI marketing. We're just talking about giving them the ability to effectively look at the analytics of a project and look at the creative side of the project as well. And bringing them closer together will result in amazing things. So, now that I sound really good, thank you very much for watching this lecture. And eventually we're going to move on to showing people all of my ideas in a visual way, so that people can experience what this breathtaking application, my breath did get taken away, this breathtaking application will do in the future. Thank you very much.